Okay. Awesome. That
Hello,
worked.
hello.
Hello.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can. Can you see me and hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you and see you.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, we'll wait like 5 minutes
Okay.
until everybody else is here. Set up the phone right. I like your setup.
It's my makeshift desk.
Yeah, my my setup, as you can see, it's just a little bit of me.
I
You
love it.
know,
No,
my movies
I love
and
it.
my
I love it. Oh, wait. I can twin. I can twin
yalla.
with my
Go ahead.
clacker.
Oh yeah, we got the the same one.
Exactly. I don't use it as much as you do, but I have it.
I barely use it too. I need to put more effort into it anyway.
There we go. There we go. To write something and make it.
Just so you know, Michigan is always like the coldest state, obviously. Today is the day where you can see a little bit of sun. So it's
Wow.
lucky. We're like California weather.
Yeah, it's like um oh my gosh, I had a joke and then what am I saying? Clearly I just woke up,
Hmm.
so I'm just kidding. Um it's God's way of saying this is meant to
Yep.
be. There we go. Not a joke
As
though.
the famous Jim Carrey once said, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Right? Everybody
Exactly.
everywhere. Hello everyone. We'll be
Exactly.
starting shortly, probably like 2 minutes, just waiting for a little bit more people to join. Um, John Akkawi, Salim Laham, two Arab filmmakers that really have something important to talk about today, hopefully to emphasize a little bit on the Arab world and my film. And John definitely will be the MC today, and we're going to be in for some nice information, that's for sure.
I
All right,
hope
one
so.
more. Yalla.
Hmm.
I wanted to use this mic today, but I'm like, easy, simple. Let's keep it simple.
I know I'm raw dogging it. I don't have no
Yep.
headphones, no mic, nothing.
All
So I
right.
hope my audio is clear,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Can everybody hear us? I'm pretty sure they can. If anybody has any issues with the sound, please let us know.
Yeah.
All
Yell at us
right.
if you can.
We are ready whenever you are, because I'm pretty sure the interview is going to be, uh, it's going to be on for a little while. So definitely more people will be joining in a little bit.
Yeah. Well, let's do it.
Yalla.
Hello,
Go
everyone.
ahead.
My name is Jonathan Akkawi, or John Akkawi, and I have Salim Laham with me. And we are, as if anyone was here a little bit earlier, you probably heard Salim say, we're two Arab filmmakers who are living in the States and just trying to break Hollywood in our own ways. You know, the industry is not necessarily kind to creators and filmmakers of color.
Mm-hmm.
As we always see, and every year, there's always a talk about, better inclusion and better diversity and stuff. And so it's kind of up to us by ourselves without nepotism to, kind of carve our own pathway through this industry.
Right.
And, I'd like to say I started a trend on social media, which I don't think it's a trend because nobody really does it, but hashtag Arabs Break Hollywood. I've been using it for the last like 7 years. And, it's let me find a lot of awesome content creators, not content, filmmakers and content creators and screenwriters and actors and stuff. And one of them
Mm-hmm.
being the iconic man here on this live with
Thank
me, Salim
you
Laham.
so much. I'm humbled and privileged. And the beauty of social media is connecting. And us as filmmakers or filmmakers in the past, they didn't have that luxury
No.
to connect with one another. And we are so grateful nowadays to really be able to have this medium to not just talk to each other, is to connect and to create content, because that's how we are as filmmakers. We can't really not create content. It's something we have to do on a daily basis. We do get burnt out.
Oh, yeah.
That's something I would definitely love to talk about today, and how, not just as an Arab filmmaker, but as a filmmaker, how we can try not to be burnt out, because a lot of people have different ways.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear some of that if we would like to deal into some of that. But as Jonathan said, my name is Salim Laham. I'm a Lebanese American filmmaker. I'm very privileged to be representing both because in this industry, yeah, it's very difficult. There's a lot of stereotypes, and you're going to have to be thrown into places you don't want to be thrown in.
Mhm.
So you really have to represent and really try to dig deep in what you really care about and try to really work hard to get where you want to be. So, yeah, let's get started.
Yeah.
Let
Yeah.
me just set this up. 1 second. I'm trying to make some nice light on the back show. Okay.
There you go. Ooh, some DVDs. Although my vision yeah, anyway.
And I'm setting them up with some DVDs in the back. That way, DIY.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. I'm gonna say to the people who join the live, and we'll probably say this multiple times, if you have questions, feel free to shoot them, but otherwise we'll try to get to them as soon as we can. But my first question to you, Salim, is I just want to know, how did you get into directing and filmmaking? Did you always know you wanted to work in the entertainment industry,
I
especially as a
love
young
that question.
man, a young boy, I should say, back in the day, coming from Lebanon?
Absolutely. So basically, to the people that haven't heard my story before, I've been on CBS Detroit, and I kind of a little bit reflected on my story when I was younger. I was very in love with films ever since I was probably 5 years old, maybe younger. And I was born in the early. I was born in 1999, so it was the era probably where the
Oh,
good films
baby.
started coming. Yeah, the good films started coming out, just like, well, 1994, 97, where Pulp Fiction and the early era of good films. And my dad used to always love watching good films. So we used to go to rent movies from a local movie store, and my dad would always take me with him. And he had this $5 rule that every Friday, you everybody takes an allowance of $5. And why he did that was because he wanted to teach us a lesson that save your money,
Mm.
use your money wisely, and you can't earn more than, like, for a kid, this is all that you get to spend. So my siblings would always go to the dollar store, and everybody would, for example, my brother liked to go build stuff. He would go get army toys and Legos and stuff like that, anything that he could get his hands dealt with.
Yeah.
My sister would always love to get school supplies and whatnot. Take those $5 and go rent movies. There was like a section where you get kid movies for like $2, and the other one you can rent one and get another one free. And then my dad would get another movie for himself. And I would just remember that, well, before that, my sister is now a psychologist. My brother is an engineer. So you can see that these things definitely shifted in their life
Mm-hmm.
to the better. And I'm a filmmaker. So just to reflect on something that when I was younger, I would definitely put the VHS tape into the player, excuse me, and I would be in another room and I would know what the film was. And I would not even look at the cover and whatnot. It was just like what they say, like my psyche, or like my subconscious by itself, it just
Yeah.
knew what it was. So
Yeah.
I was definitely very founded with films ever since I was a kid.
That's
That's
amazing.
one of the things.
No, I mean, I feel like that's kind of a common core for a lot of us who end up in the industry as wanting to like create. I don't want to say for actors per se, but people who want to write or direct films, or even the ones that work in crew, a lot of them come from a passion of cinema.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's really ingrained in us because I have the same memories too. Like Allah Yarhamo Blockbuster and
Yeah.
Allah Yarham Hollywood Video, honestly, with
Yeah.
now Netflix and stuff. But back home, every summer I'd go and my to Jordan, and my uncle's khwali would take me to the balad, so like the downtown,
Yeah.
and they would just be like, "Here is Asha Dananir, go buy all the DVDs you want," and that would basically like I would stock up, like
Yep.
these are my viewings for the next month while I'm here, and it just was
Exactly.
like a common tradition, and so I just, like you were saying, like from the 90s to now, just watching all the classics and ingraining that in my core essence.
Yeah. And actually, the movie rental shop I used to go to, it wasn't even Blockbusters. Blockbusters was like the thing back then.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like more expensive. So my family, we know we're a humble family. We come from a very, my family like immigrated to the United States. We used to go to a place called Blockbusters. It was a local movie store. And I want to reflect on something because it was interesting what you said. I lived half of my life in the US and the other half I lived in Lebanon.
Mm.
So basically, DVDs in the United States, when the early 2000s started coming up, and now people started using DVDs and whatnot, and Blu-ray, and DVDs here were like $40 plus. You
Mm.
had to buy a film for that much, and if you wanted to rent it, it would take a lot of time to come out if it was a new film.
Mm-hmm.
Now in Lebanon, for Instagram censorship reasons, we're not gonna put all the information, but you would get like the cheapest DVDs for so cheap,
Oh
and you
yeah.
know why. So basically, is where I was able to get hands on a lot more films
Mm-hmm.
because of the affordability, because of how quick they were able to get them into the market. And
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely a plus for us. And I was a shy person when I was younger. I never knew how to public speak like I am now. And I really did work on that later on in college because that's when I started falling in love in film, like really taking it as a career path. I hated school. I never was good at school. My grades were terrible in school. I was in a Lebanese school where people just had to study physics, math, and chemistry, and they just had to do that every single day. Their family wanted them to be an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, and I didn't want to do that. I was
We
kind
chose
of
the
like,
fourth option, disappointment, as I
yeah,
like to say.
or if I can say it in the great Robert Rodriguez statement, rebel without a crew. I was definitely
I
a
like that.
rebel without a crew,
I like
and
that. I've never heard that one before. Okay.
yeah, you should read his book if you've heard of. I'm pretty sure you have Robert Rodriguez, the director of Spy Kids,
Oh yeah.
and he created a film. If you don't know, please look into it, but you should. It's called Al Mariachi, and he did a trilogy, Al Mariachi, and I'm not sure what the rest of the films are, but he made this as his student short film,
Mm.
kind of, and he made it for $7,000, and he wrote a book called about it, Rebel Without a Crew, and this book really reflects on how much hardship he had making this film and how he had to go to he won in Sundance, and they bought off the rights of his film and they made it into a trilogy, and probably who bought off the rights was Paramount.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
I would definitely love to send you some information about that. I read the book, one of the best filmmaking inspiring books whenever you're down, whenever you're burnt out. That's the thing that I wanted to get
You mean
into.
right now?
Read
Right
this
now?
book. Yeah, right now. Well, all of us are the same. But I'm ready for your next question for sure.
Yeah. Um. I mean, you kind of were touching upon Robert Rodriguez, but I'm wondering, is there any other directors, or how about like a specific project in like a movie? Because you dabble more in film rather than TV, right? Just for our audience to know. But like, is there a specific movie or director that kind of speaks to you and inspires you, or has inspired
Absolutely.
you?
I am a huge fan of David Fincher. There's
You and me
God,
both, brother. You and me
there's
both.
there's God, David Fincher, Christopher Nolan, Spike Lee.
Oh yeah. Freaking love Spike
Yeah.
Lee.
And then the great excuse me, I forgot his name, but the gentleman that made the Grand Budapest Hotel, Wes
Oh, Wes
Anderson.
Anderson.
Yeah,
Yes.
Wes Anderson. So I love attention to detail. I love people that can really make films. I've never been a huge fan of sci-fi or horror or thriller.
Really?
It's just not my cup of
Okay.
tea. It's not something I dealt into, and I'm pretty sure you've seen my film. And to the audience that have not today, hopefully I'm trying to work on sending it to more film festivals. I might try to do an online thing where people would pay and watch the film, to fund my future films. But what I'm trying to lead into is I love drama films. I like the essence of the story and how I can make simplicity so beautiful from the story, and how a story could really involve more into the scene without all the crazy special effects and whatnot. I just like that. I like the simplicity of things. So to reflect on David Fincher, I just loved his cinematography. I've always wanted to be a
Okay.
cinematographer by heart, you
Okay.
know. And I worked in the film industry in Lebanon for like 6 years, and at the moment I do theater. So
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of gaffer work. I did a lot of grip. I did a lot of second AC. I worked in the camera and lighting department, and I was so grateful that usually when students go into school, they have to throw themselves into so many positions or so many crew placements to see where they
Yeah.
fit. What I love the most, camera work and lighting work, and I just knew that I wanted to do that from the day that I stepped foot on set, and I was good at it.
Yeah.
So David Fincher really reciprocated that energy, especially with his lighting work, with his cinematography, with the way that he thinks, the script writing that he does, like films like Seven, Social Network. There's a lot of films that David Fincher did that definitely trigger my brain, and that's what I like in films. I like somebody to really tell me, or in Arabic we could say this is kind of something I used in my film. At the ending, you do like darbat kaf for the audience,
Hmm.
a slap on the face to let them really try to understand the ending of the film, but also try to, just like what he did with what's the film? The film with the box. You remember what I'm talking about?
The box.
Yes. Hold on. I'll get it for you. David Fincher film. What is it called? Um,
I'm
it's
blanking on it
it's with
too.
Morgan Freeman and what's his name? Brad Pitt. If the audience knows the film, that would be a shame for me because I forgot one of my favorite films. He
It's
says,
not
"What
Fight Club, is it?
is it? Fight Club?
No.
No, it's no. I think
It's
it's
the box.
seven. No, I think it's seven. Yeah,
I have not watched a lot of David Fincher films
that's
recently.
all right.
So,
Because he at the end of the film he keeps on saying what's in the box and what's in the box and it's a David. It's the seven. That's the same film I'm talking about. So anyway, yeah, David Fincher really did take a big leap in my career, but also the rest of the directors that I told you about, I really dealt with when I was in college. I had a professor that really mentored me through the art of film. He gave me classes like art of film, script writing, and he loved Christopher Nolan's writing. He loved Spike Lee, and I watched so many films like Do the Right Thing and films like that that really made you fall in love with film. So I do owe him a lot of that respect. He was a theater kid. He studied in Florida, and kind of that's what got me into one of the areas that I'm working in right now. I work in theater. And you can see it's so much different worlds that
oh
we're in.
yeah.
Yeah.
I in college I studied theater because my school did not necessarily have a film program like how to learn how to direct, camera act, all the different kind of technical crew positions. So I decided to go more into theater, especially because that's kind of where my training has been in high school and middle school. And you're right, it's such a different world that a lot of times when I have people on that I'm interviewing that have worked in both mediums, I'm always fascinated of like, what's the difference for you? Like, what do you like more?
Yeah.
What don't you like? You know, whether
Yeah.
you are an actor both on stage and off camera, if you're a director on stage, off camera, or someone who's done crew, because like you
Right.
said, it's different, but at the same time, it's the same in a weird way.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, like in Lebanon, not a lot of people had to deal with theater, because not all schools and not all universities have the luxury of building a beautiful
Hmm.
theater and letting their children to deal with those extra curriculum like they do in the United States. And you have to
Hmm.
remember that Lebanon is such a small country, but it's an amazing country. And a lot of people don't agree with the thought of their child being a actor and they start laughing at him and whatnot. But that's why we're here. We're here to break the norm. We're here to persevere. We're here to keep fighting. And at the end of the day, it's one life. We live it once. And whoever, nobody's gonna care. People are gonna like to talk anyways. But at the end of the day, when they see you succeed, they're kind of like iffy, like,
Hmm.
ooh, well, I threw my dreams in the trash, but it's never too late.
Yeah, no, that's beautifully said. That's beautifully said. It's funny when you were saying Wes Anderson because that's another one of mine that kind of piqued my interest. Like, I want
Yeah,
to write what he does because, like you said, he's very specific. He has a specific style of filmmaking, the aesthetics, everything, and whatnot. And my first exposure to him happened to be Grand Budapest Hotel in like 2014 when that movie came
yeah.
out. And afterwards, I was like, I need to watch more by him. You know, funny enough, somehow back home on NBC2,
Oh,
I
that's
had watched
what I used to watch every day.
right. I watched The Royal Tenenbaums, which was his movie, but I did not know because it doesn't have that same like candy
Right,
looking
language is
cinematography the way that
language.
yeah. So I was like, okay, I've seen another one, but I remember I was flying home from a trip to Spain a couple years ago, and the airline I was on did this cool thing where every month or every 2 months they choose one director, and they like just do a showcase. So they have all the films of that director, and
Yeah.
it happened to be that it was Wes Anderson the time I was flying with them. I think it was Finnair, and I literally sat on that 13-hour flight from Helsinki to SFO and watched every one of Wes Anderson's movies I'd never seen before, and it just like
Oh my God.
it like gave me a rebirth of creativity. I was like, here we go. So I got home and I was like, I need to write something. I need to create something. So I feel you on Wes Anderson.
Absolutely. And I'm sorry to cut you off. I just want to
No,
give a
no,
shout out to somebody that I have a big, dear respect
yeah,
for, Hassan Shahab. This gentleman, when I was younger, I'm a musician as well.
yes. I want to talk
Um,
about that later, but continue.
and this gentleman, actually, when I was younger, I used to play piano on my own. And when I grew up, I was kind of like, I tried to go to school for music, but I went to something in Lebanon, which we call the conservatoire. But I did not speak any Arabic or any French. I was 100% American, and I came from the United States, and I was looking for a music instructor. And this gentleman was my guitar
Oh,
teacher for a couple
oh,
of months, and he definitely inspired me into the role that I was in. He was more of as a friend, more as just like a teacher. We would just go and jam, and that's probably one of the techniques that I started teaching my students when I grew up and I started teaching music. So I just want to give him a shout out. He just signed in.
well, welcome, Hussein. Salim's an amazing guy, so I'm glad that you've worked with him and taught him.
Also, there's a very funny comment someone said about Lebanese are naturally dramatic. Well, I can't fight you on that because trust me, I lived there for 12 years, and this is why I'm back in the United States. You can figure that out.
But like, let me, Mr. Troy Habibti, who said Lebanese are naturally dramatic. All Arabs are naturally
Are dramatic.
dramatic.
There you go.
Trust
It's in
me,
our blood.
I'm a mix. As I tell people, I'm a Levantine mutt. I have Lebanese in me, Syrian, and Palestinian. Trust me, that combination is not good for me when it comes to drama. Um,
I agree completely.
LOL.
All
Um,
right.
I mean, you kind of have touched upon your filmmaker journey a little bit. Is there anything more you want to talk about? Like, so you've gone from school, like what kind of, I mean, we'll talk about your short film Joy in a little bit, but I'm just wondering, have you created other projects before that have kind of given you your footing? Like, how'd you get into the directing chair, I guess is my question.
That's a good question. So in school, they always try to. I had a bachelor's degree in communications. I have it's specific in radio and television. So I was kind of like a radio and TV person. But the way that I was taught film was not from school. It was from sets. I was, as I said, a rebel without a crew, and my university, like, it did not offer me anything at all. And I used to work at the university just to, cut costs. And I used to work in the film department or the TV department, whatever you want to call it. And I would go with Lebanese American University, LAU, which had such a more diverse and bigger. It had a theater, it had more film equipment, and I would always throw myself with that type of people. I would find my people, and I would work with them, and I would learn from them,
Yeah.
and I would work with their equipment and go on their film sets, and that's how I dealt with a lot of film. I would want to say something that would kind of be like a big no to say, but I've never wanted to be a director. Like, I did not want to be the man in the chair that started giving orders to
Nobody does.
everybody. Yeah,
Nobody does.
yeah, but sometimes when you have a vision, you're the only person that's able to give that vision.
Mhm.
It's where you have to be, and that's probably one of the hats that I had to have when it came to my film Joy. But I can tell you this: I've always wanted to be a cinematographer. I've had a lot of founded. I can like visualize scenes in my head, and I can, think about the lighting like this.
Mhm.
And to be a director was a great honor for me because I had to really envision my film. And I've definitely made films before, but they're nothing like to really shed light on because it was just, you're a student, you have to make a lot of mistakes and you have to learn from that in
Yeah.
order to make more films. And that's what Joy is also one of those films. And I actually made a film that here's a really interesting story. I'm happy you reminded me about it because I forgot it completely. When I was back in Lebanon, I used to work with an NGO which was called Huna Beirut.
Okay.
And this NGO, it's a fun fact for everybody who's in Lebanon still at the moment. It gathers Muslims and Christians and anybody from different religions all together into a coffee shop. It has a creative space. And they also have another place in Tripoli, Lebanon, in Trablus. And it's between Debt Tibani and Jabal Mohsen. So these are two different people that always shoot at each other. And they have a coffee shop right in the middle
Oh my
that
God.
gather people together. And this NGO was always trying to help out less fortunate people in order to be to learn a lot of workshops. They had photography workshops, they had
Yeah.
everything. And they actually loved me so much to the point that they offered me to make a film and take it to the 48-hour film project. The United States has a lot of them, and I was a part of that. And I was so lucky that they funded the film completely. And the only kind of catch to it was that I had to teach all the people that were in the workshop how to do filmmaking, and they had to help me
Mm.
with the film. And none of them are filmmakers, probably one or two people that actually have done camera work and acting. and you know, you have to 48 people don't that do not know what a 48-hour film project is. You have 48 hours to finish the whole film. You
Yeah.
have to write, shoot, and edit in 48 hours, and you have to. They give you like a bowl where there's like random genres and random names and whatnot
Mm-hmm.
and props, and you just have to pick out your poison
Mm-hmm.
and run back, start writing, and start shooting. And mine was the hardest because I had to do it with a non-filmmaking crew, which didn't
Yeah.
know how to do anything. But luckily, I had the equipment, and it was my first year in college, so I had the opportunity, and I took it. And I still didn't know that much about filmmaking, and it was just something that I look back at, and I'm like, okay, that's not as bad as it was. It could have been worse, but we did it.
Yeah.
We did something, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of filmmakers should do nowadays. They should really just go out and do it. If they have a passion, just do it. If it looks bad, that's okay. Post it on social media for a day or two. If you really don't like it that much, in the future you can archive it. But post
Totally.
it, keep getting better. Look at it, try to do more and more, you know.
Totally. No. And I mean, anyone who's on this live, I really want you to take that advice into account because that is honestly the best advice you can do is just literally, as I have my shirt says, just write it with the Nike logo. As Nike says, just do it. Like, you know, because
Oh
like you
my
said,
God.
it's the
Yeah,
only
see,
way you're
we
going to
all
learn.
represent certain people. I'm a music guy. Wherever you see me, if you see me anywhere, if you really want to try to pick me out of a crowd, I'm wearing a music t-shirt. End of
You know,
discussion.
I was thinking about because I was like, okay, I know Salim's into music and he's a musician.
Yeah,
Do I wear one of my concert tees for him, or do I, or do I do more filmmaking? I have a
I
bunch of
love it.
filmmaking shirts. So.
No, I love it. Trust me. Listen, honestly, I like this energy that we have, and if people are interested, we should try to work on a podcast together. Because you never
You
know.
never know, you know.
Seriously,
I
we can
have
get
to
a lot of
podcast. You like to podcast. You have your own critic. I don't know. Maybe, maybe.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know if you guys keep tuning in because hopefully we might do another episode on what the flop to deal with a little bit more movie reviews. I would definitely like to see if there's still a lot of good audience reach. We can work on something in the future. Maybe you can see me in California really soon too. You never know.
You never know. You never know.
All right, let's get the next question.
By the way, to other people who are in the chat, if you do have a question, please type it. I always forget how lives work, so if you want to type it out, or I think there might be a question box, please shoot them at us so we can, you know, whether it's a question to Salim or me. So please go ahead. But Salim, you are the man of the hour, so I have another question for you.
Go ahead.
As you were talking about kind of your filmmaking journey, I now want to talk specifically about your award-winning short, Joy. I'm just wondering to start out the conversation about Joy, like where did the inspiration come from? And I don't want to necessarily, you know, talk about because it's your project, but can you also give the audience who maybe have not seen your short yet just a little bit of context of what the short is about before you kind of talk about the inspiration and how the development of that project came about?
Absolutely. So let me give you guys a little bit of the log line of film and just my perspective. I'm not going to be like a robot and just say it the way that it's written. I'm gonna talk from the heart. So, and that's how I am. I'm a very genuine person. So the film talks about a very passionate 21-year-old musician that suffers from a psychological illness called conversion conversion disorder. And for those that don't know that, conversion disorder is a disorder that when you go to a doctor, for example, and your hands are like shivering and you can't take control of them, just like my hand is right now. The doctor says that you are medically cleared. There's nothing wrong with you, but they don't know why you are half paralyzed or your hands are doing like that, or all of a sudden your leg stops working. So basically, the only people that can deal with this are psychologists or psychiatrists, and they have to give certain medications for that. And this happens usually just to females under the age of 21 or 18, and it really focuses on the accumulation of trauma and stress, and it's all because of the brain. So the brain is our biggest, you know, kind of like organ in our body, if I could say, and it takes control of your whole body. So the brain just like blocks the neural system and parts of your body, and it's just like a horrible thing to really deal with. And how I came upon with that idea, or let me continue one thing. So basically, this character is struggling to really get back to music. She loves music, but something happened in her life, which is this accumulated stress and trauma, which was the loss of someone that she really loves. And when you really lose someone that you love, you're no longer able to play music like you used to before.
Mm-hmm.
So you're really in a, like what we have is like a writer's block.
Mm-hmm.
She has like a complete block. It's just like the sadness is eating her inside and she's not able to really deal with
Mm-hmm.
it. And it's just accumulated over the years and she just keeps on trying. Will she ever be able to play music like she used to before? That's the question. And that's what's the audience has to try to figure out after they watch the film.
Mm-hmm.
So just to reflect a little bit on how I came on with the thought and how all this film was able to be done. So basically, I went to school for filmmaking, and it was my student short film. So
Mm.
we had to produce a film in 4 months,
Something,
and
yeah.
I think that was in 2020, and
Oh, okay.
it was during COVID times, and it was probably one of the hardest times for anybody in the world, especially if you're living in the Middle East, to create a film. And anyone that does not know, I'm pretty sure a lot of you do because, you know, we're all Arab and we either lived in the Middle East or we lived in the US and we have heard the news. In Lebanon, there's an economic crisis. There's no gas. There's no water. There was COVID. Like people were
What?
revolting against the system. And people here in the United States were living a happy life, obviously, but we were living the complete opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, during COVID, when I was not really able to go out with other than specific people, I remember I was in Hamra, Beirut, Shara al Hamra, and I was walking with my friend. His name is Jad, and he had like a beautiful golden retriever, and we always used to walk next to his house and walk his dog. And I heard a lady on the balcony playing piano. And I stopped for like 2 minutes and I started listening to her and I started looking at the people on the balconies, really, really listening
Yeah.
to her. She's like giving her 2 minutes of fame at 9 o'clock at night, and everybody was just looking at her. And I was in the stage of I don't know what I want to write, and I have no idea what I want to write. And I just don't want to write a film that's not interesting, you know. I wanted it to reciprocate with a lot of audience because I knew I was going to go back to the United States. And then I started looking at that and I was like, what if? We took a class that was questions like, what if this happens? What
Yeah.
if, you know?
Screenwriting 101.
Yeah. So what if? Like, what if she was not able to play music?
Mm.
So my sister's a psychologist. She's studying to be a psychologist, and she has a lot of friends that really dealt with this career. And it was just beautiful that I had that opportunity to really talk to someone about what I was thinking about the character. And he stopped me. He told me this is called conversion disorder. So that's when the story started to evolve, when I actually knew it was a real thing. Saha.
Sorry.
Actually, you're good. When I actually knew it was a real thing. So basically I started thinking like, how would I reflect it? What would I do if it was me?
Do
And
with you.
it's every musician's nightmare if you lose the ability to not be able to play music like you used to before. Like, if somebody lost his arm, that's the end of him. Like, I cannot imagine people like Mozart, or people that really, you know, lost their vision, that were able to play music, or people like what's his name? He was on America's Got Talent, Cody Lee. This guy's autistic. For those that don't know him, he's autistic, and he is also blind.
Oh,
And
wow.
he started playing music and singing, and it was just amazing, you know. And that's one of the things that also inspired me. Like, I tried to give my actor, like, just like, look at these characters, try to, you know, reciprocate that energy and whatnot,
Yeah.
because that's what directors do. They have to give examples. And some directors, you know, other than Stanley Kubrick, that was a different type of director. they really have to like dive deep into the character. So luckily my actress was also a musician. So she felt
Okay.
the trouble, and I actually didn't do a big casting because I knew who I wanted, and the actor's name was Joy, just like the character. And
Oh, wow.
and joy does not mean joy. It's actually the opposite of the film. It's kind of like a twist to it. Will she ever
Yes, it
find
was,
joy?
dude. When I watched
Yeah,
it, I was just like expecting something upbeat and powerful. Like, I mean, it's powerful, but like upbeat and
yeah.
joyful. And then I'm like, dang, this was deep. And I loved it, though. I love the
Yeah.
juxtaposition.
Like, you know, films definitely have to be like the kind of symbolic thing in the film, you
Oh,
know.
yeah.
And I really wanted to make like a sarcastic approach towards it, like joy, you
Yeah.
know. And so basically, I gave her the script and she read the script and she's like, oh my God, this is something that I actually also reflect to, because every musician when they play, sometimes they have like things in their fingers and they either shiver if they play too much, and it kind of like reciprocates to them when they're stressed
Yeah.
out. And I was just very grateful to find an actor that was into that, and that's probably one of the things. And all the crew in my film was very family like, because I've worked with everyone, everybody, every team member in my film was somebody I've worked with for so many years. But just to reflect that this film, like you shot it in probably one of the hardest times. It was so difficult to really get the essence of the character even more. There was a lot of things we wanted to do in that film, but we weren't able to because of Lebanon. We had a guy put a gun into our head when we were shooting the film, and that's a different story. Yeah,
What?
we had some. Yes. Oh, we'll get into that in a second. And shout out to Hassan Sarhan. This guy was my plus one. He was running everywhere. He was there when that happened. He was the gentleman when, the economic crisis was going on in Lebanon. I had to give him my money, and he had to go and exchange my money in the same second. He would run to the exchange rate place and get me the money so I could pay for certain things that were happening at the moment. So if you guys want to hear the story, I don't
I'm
know,
like
part
I'm
two.
like jaw dropped everything. Like I'm gagged. My God.
So, I'm sorry. I think I jumped far away from your question, but I would definitely like to talk about that thing, and then you can ask me your question again, so I don't have to you know,
No,
move
you're
far
good. You're
away
good.
from it. So basically, when I was so we had two locations to shoot the film. The film
Yeah.
was in a coffee shop and in a house. I tried my best to minimize the locations, and there was a lot of street scenes and whatnot. So my AD had to do one day in a coffee shop and one day in the house. And the house was actually my old grandma's house, and that's
Oh.
also that's those my source of inspiration. The windows in her house, the scene where they're playing
Yeah.
piano, and there's like those الشبابيك الأباجور, that's what they call them. They're green and whatnot. And when I first came to Lebanon, when I was younger, we didn't live in Lebanon. We only went in the summer. I would go to that house for my grandma.
Yeah. Yeah.
And after we left, they just abandoned the house, and we they went to a different house in Beirut. So this house was full of shit. Sorry for my language, but we had to do everything from scratch. And the beauty of it was those windows, and it was something that reminded me of the piano player in Al Hamra. So we fixed up the house and everything, and the best part about it was the Kanje, which is the little shop underneath the
Under the
house.
house. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were on the first floor. So my teta used to bring what they call it, like a small basket and a rope, and throw it on Abu Musa. So
لتحت.
yep, and they would give us candy and whatnot, and they would throw money. And that house had a big, beautiful representation in my childhood. So it reminded me a lot of things. And believe it or not, back in the day, there was Disney. My grandma would love to. Well, okay, you guys are American children, so we're gonna get you Disney. We want you to stay at home and have fun and all that. So God rest her soul. She was the reason why we actually went back to Lebanon. And God forbid everybody here. This is a very emotional story. She got cancer, and that's one of the reasons why we stayed in Lebanon.
Mm.
And this kind of film was also like the mother in the film kind of reminded me of my grandma. Now you can understand why the character kind of resembles me, but the mother also resembles my grandma.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, in a filmmaker, you always have to have things that relate to you, kind of. So talking about the really tough story that happened. So my uncle's shop was also next to the Ganj. It was like the house is for my grandma and the uncle's shop is underneath. It's like a family business. And there's this grumpy old man. There's no electricity, so we had to rent a motor or a generator, and we had to put that generator on the balcony. And I had to put it in a balcony where there's no people, so that there's no issue. But for me, I'm a guy that lived in the United States. I do everything legal. I don't do it the Lebanese way. And I got a paper, and it's okay. And I got the paper from the Laham. It's like the United States. You have to take a permit to
This is
shoot a
like
film.
a permit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got a permit. My instructors looked at me and they started laughing, like, "What the hell did you just do?" I stood in line with somebody that got me like a wasta, which also big shout out to her. And we had to go in and get the permit. And there's this gentleman that was bothered from the the smoke that was coming out of the generator
Mm.
and the sound of it. And like a couple hours, he came and knocked at my house, and he's like, he talked to me very nicely, and he's like, listen, the smoke is coming into our house, and we have a cancer patient. But you know Lebanese, they fake a story and they try to, twist it around and, put a sugar and some spice and everything
Exactly.
nice. And I apologized to him dearly, and I told him, let me move the generator for you. So there's two different balconies, one on the left, one on the far left, one on the far right, and one
Yeah.
on the far left. So I had to I had to take time out of my film to move the generator with all the cords that are connected to the lighting, which was a lot of waste of time that I don't have money to pay for,
Mm-hmm.
to the other side. What happens? Hours later, he comes back and knocks on the door, but this time in a very messed up energy. And for me, I have a permit, and it's my house, and you have no right to be here. And I'm shooting a film, and I'm only shooting a film for one day.
Yeah.
So he got very aggravated, and Lebanese are hotheads, or older people are hotheads. He came and got a gun, and he kind of started knocking on the door, and it was one of the hardest scenes I was shooting. It's where Joy is kind of, in that depression mode, where she no longer wants to play music. The scene where she throws the things off the bed and whatnot. That was a very emotional scene for her. She had to get into character. And lucky for me, I had a gentleman that taught me lighting in a production house. This gentleman, if you look at him, he's like DJ Khaled times 5.
Oh Lord.
Respect to him. He stood right in front of him, and he told him, "Get the hell out of here." And the gentleman shut up, and my uncle called him, and told him what to do and stop bothering us, and we'll be out of the house by 12 o'clock. And I lost it by then because I had to pay my crew and everything, and I had to take out scenes because things happen in film.
Yeah.
Always, unfortunately, you live in the Middle East where there's no political system, and people just take things in their own hand. And it was definitely a challenge to make a film. So this is the point. But what we're trying to reach to is, when there's a will, there's a way.
There's a way. Exactly.
If you're Arab or if you're American, when there's a will, but there's a way. But for us, it's so much more difficult because we don't have anyone with us.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to be knowing you as a person after seeing your feed and what you do for a living, it takes me great pride to be on a platform right now here and talking to you, because both of us, and we're not even that old yet, are able to break the norm, and I'm very happy that everybody here is able to reflect and listen to that, because at the end of the day, we might leave at least one person out of this live chat inspired. And that's all I care about, honestly. That's why we, as filmmakers, we make films to make people happy.
Exactly. No, and I mean, that's my biggest thing of why I'm like always trying to start that. If you can, guys, and you post stuff that you work on, hashtag Arabs Break Hollywood, because it's not just for us to like feel proud of ourselves. It's honestly, like you were saying, it's to share that we are doing this. Like, we have all these obstacles in front of us, but we don't care. We're going to, overcome those obstacles. And if we can, you can too, and together can we build each other up and do that,
Also, John, I would like to reflect on something if you let me. I don't want to say names, but I know a gentleman that was in Los Angeles, where you live in California. You know how beautiful the film industry is there.
Yeah.
And this, I think give and take. But this gentleman had to take roles that did not represent us. He would do anything to get into the industry. He would take terrorist roles, and he would do things that, in my opinion, you don't have to do that in order to get into Hollywood. We are very educated people. We speak 3 different languages. We are people that care about film. We would put in energy and effort more than anybody, because we have dealt with stuff more than any American has in the entire world. We just came from the hardest hardship when it comes to living, and if somebody lost electricity here for 1 hour, it's the end of the world for them. So what I'm trying to say is, don't be intrigued to take any role in order for you to be a artist or an actor, a filmmaker. If God is on your side and he wants you to do this, then it's going to be for you. And it just takes me by surprise why people just have to take the easy way and do that in order to be in the industry. And I've seen a lot of that. That's why it kind of bothers me, because if you want to keep Hollywood stereotype working, you'll be the person that's going to do it.
Oh yeah.
And we don't want that. Maybe we're never going to change that perspective, but that's okay. At least there's people that keep on spreading the word out, and that's all we can do. just like what Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. had to do.
Exactly.
We have a dream, right? We have a
Exactly.
dream, and one day we will change this dream, and hopefully we can be the beginning of that and many other people to come in our generations.
Exactly. And I just, if I could reflect on that, what you were just saying too, because that's been the biggest journey, or not the journey, the challenge for me as a Arab American actor, I'll say, not that, I'm going to wear that hat right now,
Yeah.
is when I've gone into auditions, it's always like, oh, can you read this character? And you're like, okay, which one? Oh, terrorist number two? No, thank you. And I get out of the auditioning room and whatnot. And a lot of my friends are like, what? That's your way into the industry. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm my own individual self who I will be seen as regular characters, like you said, that aren't stereotyped, And, maybe by passing some of those roles up, I passed on the opportunity to become a SAG member. I passed on the opportunity to maybe get a mediocre agent that could help me. But it's like, I don't care about that, because the beauty of me trying to do it myself and independent, as you were saying earlier, yes, I'm burnt out. Yes, it's very tiring, but it's by meeting beautiful people such as yourself and a lot of these wonderful Arab American and just specifically Arab artists too, who are doing the same thing as me. And I'm knowing that I'm not alone, that a lot of us are not willing to compromise our, culture for the sake of, like you're saying, just trying to make it big real quick and trying to take the easy way out. The
Right.
journey is what's fun for me. The journey,
Yes.
and again, like, if I had taken that terrorist role 5 years ago, six whatever years ago, and then maybe have an agent, maybe I'm on a TV show now, I would never meet someone as beautiful and wonderful as you. I would never meet as
Absolutely.
beautiful as someone as XYZ and whatnot, because I would not be fighting for equal representation opportunities the way that you are, or the way we do.
Absolutely. And a lot of Arab American filmmakers nowadays are actually getting good roles without doing that. Like, I know a gentleman that was in The Recruiter. I forgot what his name is. But that guy has never took anything probably that was bothering him. He worked with people like, what's his name? Price. I don't remember his full name. But what I'm trying to say here is, like, you can work your way into the industry. Of course, you have to know connections. It's not an easy, I'm in the United States. I moved here. You have to start from scratch. If you're good
Mm-hmm.
or not, you have to start from nothing.
Yeah.
But you have to really dive deep and be humble and be a sponge and all that. But for you to be an actor as a terrorist, that's a big no. That's something we can no longer accept, because
Mm-mm.
it's not who we are. And even when you're doing it, even if it's a foot into the market, you are already giving them what they want. Just like when an Indian speaks in a certain terminology or an accent, they don't all speak like that, unless it's like Family Guy and it's funny. I understand that, but when you're actually trying to represent that in film as a comedic, funny approach, we shouldn't keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
We're all people. We want to try to make films that actually mean something,
Mm-hmm.
that actually gives somebody, at the end of the day. My instructor would tell us a film that entertains
Mm-hmm.
and a film that educates
Mm-hmm.
is a good film.
Exactly.
And if you leave with one, it's not good enough.
Exactly.
So without all this BS, we really want to make films just like what Nadine Labaki is doing, or like in theater what
Queen.
George Khabbaz is doing,
King.
right?
Yeah.
And what Shahid is doing nowadays, it's breaking the Middle Eastern market, the MENA market. We need to try to, or if I could reflect on one thing, there's a new series on Netflix called Mo
Uh,
Amir, the
mm.
incredible
Do I have a
stand-up
story about
comedian.
that for you? But that'll be
Oh,
offline.
I do know that. Yeah, but what I'm trying to say to you is films that actually represent our culture in a kind of way,
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it personally, and that's what type of films or series we want to introduce.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before I get to my next question, only because there's this icon that I've yet to meet in person named Zaina, who's been commenting.
Oh,
Um,
then,
but she had asked a question earlier on, but we were on a roll that I didn't want to cut us off. But she asked,
yeah.
and I just thought, because my next question is a little bit music related too. She asked, "What is your favorite album of all time, any genre?"
Oh my God. Oh my
That's
goodness.
not an
That
easy
is very
question, I know,
difficult.
because I'm like sitting there
Oh,
like, it's like asking us, "What's your favorite movie?"
I feel like your favorite of all time album of all time is probably like Beyonce or something that's gonna break the industry.
Renaissance,
So
Act One. No.
So basically, Zena is a very talented musician. She's a very good friend of mine. So it's very typical of her to ask a music question. Um, I don't know. Honestly, listen, I've reflected a lot on very good 80s, 90s music. I'm a huge fan of Eric Clapton, Red Hot Chili Peppers, AC/DC. I'm going to watch a John Mayer concert in like a month. Excuse me. So my music is all over the place, and I was inspired by a lot of pop rock bands.
Mm.
My father used to listen to a lot of Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, and he inspired me into a lot of those. So if I'm not gonna really give like an album, but I would like as I reflect, like these artists really gave me the power to really learn music in a good way, and I've learned three different instruments just by the beauty of older music, not this uh, baby Justin Bieber crap that people do nowadays. And fun fact to everybody here, since you guys like to laugh, me and Justin Bieber are born on the same day. So unfortunately, thank you, but no
I'm so
thank you.
sorry.
Yes.
That's.
uh,
I'm trying to think of mine. I mean, Zen, I don't know if I'm assuming you're asking both of us. So, I, I can't give you a specific album. I listen to so many genres and so many artists and whatnot, but I'll give you my top five artists if that counts.
Fair enough.
As Salim called me out, Beyonce is one of them. I just think what she's doing in the game, like she's not just someone who's like, I'm gonna make records and make money. That was not a good Beyonce impersonation, but um, she puts out music that is very cultural in terms of like breaking the zeitgeist and just really listening to like with their most recent album. She was really inspired by like the '80s disco and queer music, and she's like, you know what, I'm gonna give them what they want, and she does that. So I just love Beyonce when she does kind of stuff like that. So Beyonce is one. I'm I love Pink.
Yeah.
um, she I'm actually working on a project not directly with her but associated with her. So I'm like just even more like, oh, I love Pink.
Yeah.
But like she was actually the first artist outside of any Middle Eastern artist that I saw in a concert. Like she's my first American concert I went to in 2012 or 13.
Wow.
I was like
Wow.
Pink. So Pink is there. I love Rihanna or Rihanna. How do the Arabs say it? Rihanna?
Rihanna.
Rihanna. And I love
Please
Charlie
don't.
XCX and Tuvelu. Those are
Yeah.
my favorite five.
Don't read the
I
chat. Keep going.
know. Mizaki, I know why he says that, but we'll, we'll move on from there.
Shout out to you for your opinion. It's just an opinion.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And to people joining the chat, again, if you have any, or the live, I should say, if you have any questions, please shoot them in. We'll try to fit them in as best as we can. So sorry, Zaina, for the delayed response to your question.
But speaking of music as well, just a fun fact as well. I went to school for Ragib Aleme. So I definitely, unfortunately, he didn't have any music or extra curriculum, which was a shame.
Yeah.
But I went to his school, and for me, if it's the best music, if you want a best album, it's Fairuz when it comes
I,
to Arabic.
oh,
I and a lot of people, it's kind of what they call it, cliche and whatnot. But I used to work in a music store, and I used to sell her box sets with cassettes,
oh
and I would
wow.
make so much commission out of them because I actually cared about the music. And all these people were foreigners, and I used to study Ashrafiyya. Anyone that knows Lebanon and Ashrafiyya is like the big shots. It's like Birmingham and Michigan, or it's like Los Angeles and California.
Hmm.
It's just like the people that cherish, and they have money, and they want to get good culture, good
Hmm.
Middle Eastern culture in my sense. So definitely Fayouz is one of those people up there.
She's an icon, my gosh. Before I ask you my next question, I just want to address for the chat real quick. Um, Gamal Tuvelu, I've been saying Tovlo my whole life until recently on Drag Race. I found that out. And then Zaina, is that the album where Beautiful's from? That's all I needed to ask. But um
Yeah, you
I
can ask
honest
Zena
any music
Christina Aguilera or
question?
Britney Spears, and she'll tell you.
There is I don't know, does Zaina live in Michigan? I was gonna say
She
there's
does.
a okay, there's a musical coming to Broadway that is basically a Britney Spears musical. So check it out.
Yeah, she's a theater kid herself.
I'll talk offline with her
Sure.
then. But I wanted to ask you the music question only because, like you were saying, you have a musical background as well. And I'm wondering, because your short film Joy does, like you were talking about, there's a piano element, and you did talk about the inspiration of why you brought the piano element into it. But I'm wondering on other projects that you might be in development of, or when you come to write, does music play an important part in kind of the visualization and or the writing process for you?
Absolutely. And two things. One thing is, lucky for me, I was a musician, and we wrote probably 80% of the music.
Okay.
Me and my sound designer. Well, not mostly my sound designer, but I was like the inspiration towards it. But the two things I wanted to say about you have to find your people. Like the sound designer, if you get a really good sound engineer, sound designer, whatnot, and they know what they're doing, those are the people that will elevate your vision to life. Because you can always do hundreds of hats, but there's people that do an emphasis on something and they just elevate it.
Yes.
And I was so lucky for this guy, and he basically did the music of the film for nothing. He got paid
Wow.
nothing because he knew me for so long, and me and him were such good friends, and we cared about music the same way. We had that message, and that's the beauty of connections, you know. And we were able to do that. And you know, I remember the like the master scene in my film where Joy was playing on the piano, in the dream scene, and me and Joy came to my house, and we actually like sat together, and we just focused on that. And that's something that she wrote, something that she was feeling, you know. It's not a song that you could download off the internet. And she started playing, and I started focusing on with her, and I'm like, we both got emotional, like that's the song we want to play, that's what we want to do. And so music definitely changes a lot in a film. And from a musician's perspective, a lot of the film is heavy sound design. It's something that as a musician, I wanted to reflect into that. There's a lot of scenes in the film that were paid homage to. La La Land, Whiplash, you know, like the drum scene, the close up on the drum, the stuff that I was paying homage to Whiplash, kind of. Not necessarily the same thing, but it was something I thought in my brain. And La La Land was like the scene of the piano, of how low the angle was and how all that. So those things you have to take account about. Like definitely music for me, I like creating films that have a music element that drives it because of the music, but
Yeah.
also music is not just the only thing that's important. You have to have a story, because later on I want to create films that are solely focused on the Middle East. And sometimes, you know, you need silence. You just need, like Nadine Labaki did, like to really show the suffer and the real story, what's going on. And if you put a music piece into that, that just might just kill your emotions.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a mixture. You just have to really deal with stuff and know where to put it and how to put it.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And I just want to touch upon what you said earlier about finding your people, because I've heard that so many times told to me, which is the best advice I probably have gotten from higher up Hollywood executives that are smart,
Yeah,
is find your tribe, you know, because your
absolutely.
tribe, as they say, is the one that's going to uplift you in no matter what. And if you have a good sound guy, that right there is an amazing thing, because I know sound is not an easy thing to do when it comes to editing
Absolutely.
or short
Absolutely.
films or films in general. So that's amazing.
Absolutely. But you know, you got to you have to keep going. You have to, what they say, just like Sylvester Stallone said in his film Rocky, you just have to keep going forward, you know. And
Yeah, keep going
unfortunately, I'm starting.
forward.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was.
Unfortunately, I had to leave Lebanon and move to the United States, and it's so difficult to work in an industry which is fully, if it's black cinema or if it's people in the union or A, B, and C. But we're gonna keep going, and we're gonna keep trying, and even if it's just not in the beginning about Arab films, but you know, when you get all that knowledge and you're able to make a film that represents your community, that's where the real pride comes. You know.
Yeah, no, totally. And just kind of as you're touching upon, like you wanting to make a specific film that takes place in the Middle East or just about our culture and whatnot. I'm just wondering, you know, seeing as we kind of were talking about earlier, you know, MENA, Manasa, whatever acronym words you want to use, Muslim people, Arab people, you know, we're constantly portrayed in the media, specifically in Hollywood projects, as we were saying earlier, terrorists, the oil tycoons, the belly dancers, all, as I like to call, the 3B syndrome: bombers, billionaires, and belly dancers.
That's that. Oh, I like that. That's that's funny. Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
It came from some, honestly, I shouldn't take credit for it officially, because it came from some like film journalist critic was kind of talking about like analyzing Middle Eastern characters in the last like 70 years and whatnot. And she's like, it's called the 3B syndrome. But yeah, right, because that's all we ever see ourselves as.
You learn something new every day. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I'll send you the article. But you know, and we were talking about earlier, like when you were talking about Mo and just nowadays, you know, Arab artists and creators who are at the helm of the projects. Like, you know, we have Rami, of course, with Rami Youssef on Hulu.
Excellent.
Mo,
Excellent.
Mo, as you mentioned, with Mo Amer on Netflix. And there's a few other projects I know that are in development here and there. I mean, Moon Knight, which I know is a Marvel project, was a lot of it was shot in Jordan and was worked on by a Middle Eastern crew, and the main director is Mohammed Diab, which is I believe he's an Egyptian director, but that's still cool that someone's
Yeah,
taken the helm of these stories.
absolutely.
But like we were saying, it's still a beginning. And I'm just wondering, like, from your perspective as a emerging filmmaker, what other changes do you wish to see from Hollywood that will hopefully, tell our stories correctly or give us opportunities to tell our stories correctly?
So listen, honestly, it's been so past overdue for us to really like be represented. I'm so happy that the recruiter they did one scene, and I'm pretty sure most of us have seen that scene where he actually represented a taxi guy in Lebanon correctly. He talked about the beauty of Lebanon, and you never know. Listen, we're in a generation where a lot of things are changing. You know, there's no longer well. I don't want to talk about a topic that's very touchy for certain people or very you know what I'm trying to say, but we're in a different time where a lot of things are changing, and what I would try to do differently is just like what Hollywood is doing nowadays. They're putting a lot of different diversity cultures into sets like Grey's Anatomy did or whatnot, but they actually put people that want to change the perspective. Like there has to be producers or writers or people that won't accept that. There has to be something that it really deals with this type of demographic. It makes
Mm-hmm.
these demographic happy that we're showing it the right way. And I think that one day it will happen
Mm-hmm.
because nowadays you're seeing what's happening with Saudi Arabia and how Saudi Arabia and the Middle East and Dubai is changing a lot. You know, these people have the money, and in America they love the money. They love, and they're gonna have to show respect to that.
Mm-hmm.
And probably that's one of the things that if Saudi Arabia gets investors in the United States and it really um, takes the market away from the Jewish community or the Hollywood or whatnot, then we would definitely see a little bit more shift in the media.
Mm-hmm.
And you never know, but at the end of the day, people have an opinion, and that's what they're used to it. And the United States has got to keep saying it, and we can't stop them. But what we can do is produce good films that make a point, and that even if it's short films or if it's a documentary, because a lot of documentaries show that, unfortunately, documentaries show a lot of bombing in the Middle East and the stories that people have to feel emotional about. But if we really can try to do, even if it's a short film or whatever, to show Middle East in the best way, you can change a couple people's perspective, and those couple people will talk about it. Like you can see Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck was defending Muslim people. A lot of people are defending Arabs nowadays. There's a shift in the culture. That's all I'm
Yeah.
trying to say.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon, unfortunately, and probably we might not be the only people. Two people can't change the whole world, but they can definitely put a dent into it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just keep talking about it. Keep wherever you go, be happy of where you come from.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I learned that the hard way when I came to the United States, and I live in Dearborn, which is probably the most populated Muslim community or Arab community
In
you'll
the
ever see
United
in the
States,
United
yes.
States. And we are so grateful to have a Ramadan festival.
Mm-hmm.
And Arabs from all over the United States come to us, you know? And all I'm trying to say here is that we have to always be on our best behavior. We always have to make good films. We have to, wherever we go, don't think we're Puerto Rican. We're Lebanese. Tell them you're Lebanese. Don't be ashamed of it. Show it off,
Yeah.
because I was working in an event, and this is a really nice story that I want everybody to listen to, if I may.
No,
I had a sheikh come to an event, and he was doing an event to the Muslim community at our center. And he said he got an opportunity for Ford, and he was writing on his laptop a lecture to tell the people, to his Muslim people, to his lecture when he finishes the interview. And the lady saw him from the Ford interviewer. I don't know which company it was. That's not. I don't know which company, but he didn't want to tell her that he was writing a lecture for Muslims, and she insisted that she wanted to know. And he told her. He was like, "Okay, I'm gonna lose the job, but I'm gonna tell her." So he finished the interview, and he just had his head down. He said, "I wanted to leave the interview, and I'm not gonna get the job." 2 days later, they called him and they gave him the job.
Oh wow.
And he asked the lady, "Why did you give me the job?" He said, "Because you were honest with me, and you did not be afraid of something that you took pride in, and that's why we want you in our company, because you didn't lie to us and you were honest with us. And this guy told us, or Hada Sheikh, he said that never take your flaws to be your weaknesses, but they are your strengths. And that hit me so hard
Mm-hmm.
that I was,
That's like
yeah.
amazing.
And listen, and the beauty of the way that we see it, say it, because we're filmmakers, we have to think about what we're saying and really inspire people to say it, because we write, you know.
Mm-hmm.
If my thoughts were all over the place, you know, it would have been a very long story and everything. So I'm glad I was able to share that with the people on the live right now.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah, literally, what you're saying is be unapologetic. I can't even say the word.
Hmm.
Unapologetically Arab.
Yeah,
Yourself.
exactly. But you know, sometimes you're gonna have to um, be a sponge, and some sets are different than others, but that does not mean that you don't identify with yourself.
Yeah.
That just means you keep your head low and you do what you have to do. And sometimes, and other times where they're the right people in the right place, that's where you really show who you are and you represent who you are, and they will accept it. Because the industry is not all sunshines and rainbows. There's a lot of people that are gonna literally like throw you down, and you have to get back up 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
That's how our industry is. It's tough love, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you really have to work in it for such a long time to really deal with it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There was one of my mentors gave me great advice, which was that basically where it's like when you walk into the room, people want to know who you are. They don't
Yes.
want to know who you think they want you to be, you know? Like you walk in that room, you want to tell them like, I am Jonathan Akkawi. I'm John Akkawi. I am unapologetically Arab, and I like to write comedy pieces about families, and I'm very sarcastic, and I'm very
Yeah.
loud, you know? Like they want to know why they should buy you, basically,
Yes.
you know, rather than just like, hi, I'm a very professional, you know, American guy who's like they don't care about that. They want to know who you are. And if you could best represent that or show them who you really are, that's what they want.
Absolutely. All right, guys. John, do you have any more questions for me before the live ends? Because I guess people are starting to gravitate towards the end of the session.
I know, I know. It's so easy to talk to you. I just want to interview you
I
for like 5 more
know.
hours.
Well, that's why we can do more of this, and you know, less is more, and we can keep doing this because you know, unfortunately, we're all burnt out, and we always can't create content. But if we can do sessions like this that people can enjoy and that we enjoy, it gives good reach. You know,
Hmm.
what the flop is next. So stay tuned, guys.
Stay tuned. And maybe a future full podcast. We'll see.
Honestly, yeah, I'm definitely not against that.
Well, Zena says this is real. This is me. Make a podcast. So I guess we have to now that Zena said it. Um, I have one more question. I think I have one more question for you. But if there's any other questions from you guys watching the live, send them now so we can quickly ask
Yeah.
Salim and or me. Um, Otherwise, this question is about you specifically in terms of music and filmmaking. Which do you find easier, to write and create music or to write and try to do a short film? And I know, I mean, both of them logistically are different, but I'm just wondering creatively, which one do you find easier to do?
Okay, that's an excellent question. I've never had to deal with that question, and it's kind of easy for me to answer. Listen, when you write a film, you have to go through so many stages, and you can't just run away. You either finish it or throw it in your cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to music, you can make a 15-second cover on Instagram, post it on a story, get some reach, and call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
Film is something you have to be very
Mm-hmm.
consistent. If you don't persevere and post on a daily basis, social media is not going to give you the reach that you want, and it's also not going to get to anybody, unfortunately, because all that hard work that you're doing, just like what I'm doing right now with my movie review page, I've noticed something that I know nobody cares about your opinion. And just give me a second to explain that. Nobody really cares about your opinion until you gain credibility. And for me, in order to gain
All right.
credibility, you have to give the audience what they want. And I learned that the hard way. Like, you don't just keep on giving the movie reviews. Now I'm working on something to do movie reactions, trailer reactions, to talk about things that people right now are looking into that I don't have to do so much writing into. That will get me the audience that I that want to listen to my niche market. And that's when my opinion will matter to them.
Mm-hmm.
We all have something to say. That's perfect. We're all good speakers. Okay, but what makes you stand out? How you really know how to work in the market. How you really know how to grab your audience from the edge of the roots, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I'm just really taking a lot of time on right now. And I really miss doing what I want to do with film and even music. Like I've been off music for such a long time. And I think that's the burnout of my film. And I'm just trying to grab all that attention right now from all the what happened. And with the new job and the new culture that I'm getting into and everything. But music is so much more easier for me because I can grab a guitar and close my eyes and play something and post it. And
Yeah.
because of the 8 years that I've been doing it, it's just grab and go. And I still sell music instruments on a daily basis. So it's something, you know, I deal with every day, but I do miss these stuff so much. And unfortunately, because you live in a world where you have to constantly work and pay your bills and whatnot, I am very honored to be working in my industry. I don't have to do another job to uh, to live in life, and there's no problem with that. Some people have to do that. That's okay. You'll get there one day.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I'm trying to get my feet into the market right now. I'm trying to learn everything, and I'm going to keep creating content. I'm still young, and I think, yeah, hopefully more to come in the future.
Inshallah, man. Inshallah. I wish you nothing but the best.
All right, guys. If anybody doesn't have any questions, I would definitely love to do another session probably in the couple of weeks to come.
Oh, Salim, you left. Well, everybody, thank you for coming online for the Arabs Break Hollywood Instagram Live. This is the second time I've done one. First one was with Sabine Kahwaji, which you can actually go to the Hollywood Shy, which is one of my podcasts about artists breaking their own way into the industry. Trying to see if Celine's gonna come back on. Otherwise, I'll end it soon. But you know, I've been wanting to have Salim come on for a while to talk. And I'm glad we did an Instagram live format because lives are always fun. Sorry, add me back in. I got you, fam. I got you. 1 second, y'all. 1 second. Okay. Um, but I hope you guys have enjoyed this live. And as Salim said, there will be. He's back.
So basically, my finger slipped and it went to another thing, and you know I got kicked out.
I was
It's
like,
okay.
dang, he's just trying to get out of here as quick as possible. Wow. I'm just kidding.
My bad, everybody. Yeah,
You're
sorry.
good.
Can you were saying?
Well, I was saying, you know, thank you to everybody for coming on the Arabs Break Hollywood Instagram Live for today. This is funny enough, the second one I've ever kind of done like Instagram Live format. The first one I did with a friend of mine named Sabine Kahwaji, and I was kind of plugging my podcast in because you can actually listen to that one. I think it's the first 2 episodes of the podcast. Um, but I was telling them I've wanted to have you on the Hollywood Shy, which I for sure am going to.
Absolutely.
Um, and I'm just glad we did it in live format because lives are fun and different than just zooming
Absolutely.
and recording
Absolutely.
it.
And that's kind of where you can get your audience right now that really like this conversation and tune into a podcast or tune into different mediums. And because we both have a different reach, you never know. If people like what we're doing, I would love to keep doing this and many more to come, my friend.
Yes. And make sure you guys follow both of us on socials. You can probably find them. I don't know if they're here.
Hmm.
I don't know where I'm on people's screen,
Yes.
but I'm at the Jakawi Arab, and Salim is at Salim Laham.
It's
Right?
at Sam Laham 23.
Sorry, I
And
screwed
it's
that up.
at, it's okay. It's okay. And it's at Sam the Critic.
There we go. Yes, yes.
If you guys just follow Sam 23, you can find the rest of my socials in my link tree. And there you have it.
There we go. There we go.
And as my famous saying once says, I'll see you guys next week.
There, there we go. There we go.
Inshallah.
Peace,
All
man.
right. Good talking to you. Save the video.
I will. I'm gonna. Hopefully, I don't screw it up. So let's. Here we go.
Okay. Save both of them because I logged out. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.